Okay, at this point of the video, I had a little problem with the internet, but we didn't miss a lot of hands. So this is just a small jump. I'm sorry about it. When I was recording it, something jumped with the internet. The last hand was the ace queen jack, what I was just talking about, and we just continuation betted. It's a lockdown board, like I already mentioned. He will just raise me here with the king 10. He won't have aces too much. He could have a pair of queens, so a set of queens, a set of jacks, which he might continue and see a turn. But Laukane seems to be very fit fold of type, so a c-bet here also should be kind of profitable. We have some backdoor equity. If we hit, if we make a straight ourselves with the 10-9, no reason to get excited, but I would still c-bet any non-paired turns here. Okay, queen jack 7-4. It's not really connected. It's again, we have 3 hearts, which is bad for our hand. And we just make an easy fold here. King 10 do 7 on table number 1 looks kind of tempting. It's double suited, but it's really not connected. The only hands which connect is king 10, but the gap is just very, very big. Same with the 10 and 7, the gaps are very big. And if we didn't play the nut flush draw before, then we also shouldn't play our king 10 7 deuce, although it looks very tempting. If it would be on the button then, or on the cutoff, it would be a very good open. So let's say we would have entered on table number 1. We would have flopped a little bit of everything, a gut shot, a flush draw, but as you can see, 4-way, it's just not very high. It just will get you into a lot of trouble. So it's just better to fold this hand out of position. So Laukkanen bets it out. He bets kind of small. I think he doesn't have the flush here, but maybe a straight, tries to find out where he stands. Once the queen comes, the board gets even more ugly. Actually, he did have a flush, a very small flush, and TVHDK had the straight, so my reads were a bit off. But yeah. 9984, far more Elsa races under the gun. I will call it, and with the same plan like before, I will try to entice TVHDK to come along. Crazy alley limps. This time I have a suited ace. I'm kind of connected. I will try to take control over the pot and raise it here for value. On the ace 3-3 finger suited board, it should be a very easy continuation bet. Kind of hard for him to hit, and we can put a lot of pressure him in position even though he calls. On table number 1, I hit the miracle 8-4-4, and once we get check raised by TVHDK, we don't really want to slow play here. We didn't start the hand out deep. I can definitely call here, but I really don't want to appear stronger or even stronger than I am. And I just tried to get it in now. If he has something like 4, 5, 6, 7, I can imagine that he will stack off, but I just want him to call with all his 4s, like ace 4, deuce 3, where he will definitely call. Unfortunately, he folds, and we will just make a quick note on this that he check raises 8-4-4 3-way, and that he folds to a shove, or 3-bet in this case. Okay, I limped I completed the small blind. Since I have a semi-connected hand, we can make a lot of lower straights, and we can make the nut flush. But Sasteps decided to squeeze it kind of small. I think these are the boards that hit him kind of much. By raising small, he can have some same type of hands like me who just want to bloat the pot. Now he continuation bets, and Crazy Ali decides to re-raise him On microgaming, once you're all in, you won't see the hand until you hit the river, so it's sometimes very, very exciting. So what did they have? Okay, SAS taps, raise preflop with 10-8, 6-9, double suited. I really don't like this raise. He's just feeding up the pot and forcing himself to play a bigger pot with the initiative, and he will just force himself to stack off loser because the flop will be just bigger and he's not in position. And this is exactly what happened. The flop came 10-8, he had top 2 pair, and yeah, he just got himself into trouble, I would say. He had a very good looking hand. He decided to make the pot bigger and then fight for it. In this case, he just ran against a set of tens. He was completely crushed, but he can also run against hands like Jack 9-7, which have just a shitloads of outs against him. So I really don't like his raise. If he would have the same hand like me, like a suited ace, semi-connected, then it would be good. Okay, so let's move on with the hands. Pow bitch pow raised my big blind. I decided to defend it in position, and the pot is just very connected. A king queen jack, and I would just try to bluff a turn once he checks. If he checks, once he bets again, I would just give it up. And on table number 1, I decided to double barrel the ace queen queen flop. I think his range is a weak ace or a weak flush draw kind of much, but once he calls me again, no reason to bluff because his range will switch then suddenly from the weak ace and the weak flush draw to the queen. So it's better to check behind our hand than on the river. I think he's going for the bluff catching quite a lot since we are also playing very aggressive now. Okay, I timed out on table number 1 when I was defending it, trying to think about the best line on how to play the pot on a lockdown board against pow bitch pow. So I would just try to focus a little bit more. Again, I recorded the session before. Something went wrong with the audio, so I have to record it again. I'm sorry about that, guys. King 10-7-9. Again, it looks kind of connected, but the gaps are really at the top. The flush draw is good though, but we don't really want to get involved with that hand. Same with 5-4 deuce 10, 3 hearts. We block ourselves, we have bad position, so we just fold our hand here very easily. Table number 2, the flush is out, straights are out, elbow fuddle bets again. Should be a value bet here in this spot. SAS steps is thinking, maybe he wants the hero call with smaller flush or straight. But he folds and elbow fuddle just takes it down. Six, 5, 5, 7, I decide to raise it here. Like I already said, the table is playing a bit tighter now to my left, so I just want to open up more pots. Ace queen 9-7, no suited at all, drawn, seems to be a regular. I already played 1.4k hands against him, very solid stats, and no reason to get involved again. On table number 1, we have a beautiful hand, so easy raise, double suited aces. Table number 2, once we flop the flush draw in a pair, we continuation bet, we can continue on a lot of turns. But Sastops seems to be a fit fold player and folds fairly quickly. King queen deuce 8, if it would be like king queen 8-7, I would decide to raise it since they are so tight on table number 2 and play fit fold on the flop. King queen jack 8 should be a very easy open raise. You can even 3-bet it if pow bitch pow decides to open from the cutoff. Once we get re-raised, no reason to 4-bet here, we just make life easier for him by lowering the stack to pot ratio. So we have position and we just want to play our hand and see a flop. We can fold flop quite much. If he has aces, he blocks a lot of our straights though, but that's fine. Get 2-1 immediately. Flop seems to be hitting our range more, but his 3-betting continuation bet is 50% in 3-bet pot, so he's not continuation betting too much, so I should give him a bit more credit. And once he really bets 3/4 of the pot, or at least 2/3, and we just have a top pair, against a lot of people it would be enough to stack off with top pair here, but I just fear that he has some overpair type of hand, like queens with hearts or kings with hearts or aces with hearts, so I just fold since he doesn't continuation bet too much. On table number 2, same like with the aces before, we don't want to 3-bet and get into a bad spot, especially if the flop comes 9-6-7, because if it comes ace high, if the board comes ace high, they will put us on an ace very quick and fold their hand. It's good if we don't have aces, but in this hand we have kind of strong hand. I don't want to blow the pot out of position and just try to see a flop and take it from there. 10-10-9-5. On table number, if I would have this hand on table number 2, I would definitely raise it, but on table number 1, TVHDK is just very loose and I don't want him to come along. Again, very bad aces on table number 2. We can make a straight with the ace queen, but that's all. Sastap's been playing very tight to our small blind steals, and yeah, now he min 3-bets. Our maximum raise now is 1050 because it's not 9 what the microgaming shows, so that's the only difference to some other clients. So if we raise it to 1050, he calls, the pot will be like 20, stack to pot ratio will be a bit more than 1, so like 2, and I just want to get it in now. No, yeah, the stack to pot ratio is 2. It's better for us to have a lower stack to pot ratio when we're out of position so we can stack up easier. Once it comes Jack 5-5, it's a very good flop for us. He will put us a lot on aces right here. His wrap don't really hit the flop, so he will know it's a good flop for us. Okay, once we get min raised, that's very interesting. I don't think he has jacks here because it's just easier for him if he calls and he can stack off on the turn. He don't have to re-raise us from our hand, but he definitely has some wraps in his hand. We saw him squeezing or min raising before with some double suited connectors hand, so I think this hits now his range kind of good once he min raises, so it should be an easy fold for us. So he would put us a lot on aces here or kings, and he put on the pressure in position. Kudos to him. I don't know if he really has the 5, but from what I've seen before, he likes to re-raise small or bloat the pot with his connected hands, and I could imagine it had something like 5, 6, 8, 9 double suited. TVHDK on table number 1 folded again. On table number 2, I decided to play a hand against Abu Fadl in position. It's a mediocre hand, but I know him fairly well. Same on table number 1, power bitch power opens. I want to entice TVHDK to come along, but again, he decides to squeeze. Abu Fadl checks to us on a lockdown board. Once he checks to us, it's actually an open invitation, and we just try to take it down. It's very hard for him to continue here. the straight is already out, and I think once he calls, it's a bit suspicious. I think he has something like 2 pair or just a flush draw, and still. Ooh. Once he leads, I think he's. We could call just once with our open and straight draw bluff once, but I think he has maybe something like he had some mediocre hand on the flop like Jack 10 or Jack 10 Ace King where he made some nut straight now. Just a very, very weird hand. 6-5-7-7 on table number 1. We really didn't connect in any way to the flop, so should be an easy fold. Crazy alley limps again. 55-6 player and a very, very good hand to isolate. I would isolate here with even less hand, but the queens are very good and they're connected and they have a flush draw also to go with, so very, very easy isolation raise. Ooh, once he leads, he will have here a straight very, very often. There's really no reason to raise him here because the only hands that will get along are a pair of kings, ace 10 or 10-9. And nothing changes actually on the turn. He pots again, which just tells me that he has a very strong hand. Probably he has the nuts like ace 10. He's limping a lot, so he can't really have any 2 cards here. We pick up a second flush draw with our hand. We can still split it maybe against 10-9 and no reason to raise. We just call here the bet of 21 and save our 21 or 22 euro on the river. Once he bets it again, I don't really want to hero call here. We saved 21 euro by playing it a bit passive. We had the position. We maybe had implied odds, or I'm counting on implied odds at least if the flush comes. Or if he just decides that the pot is big enough that he will stick in his last money, although the board changed somehow. So we just played the pot passive though, with the set and the flush draw. This might be a bit confusing for some of you guys, but yeah, really no reason to raise. The stacking off range is just almost always either the higher set or already the mate straight, the nut straight definitely. $10-9-7-6. I opened since the table was very, very tight pre-flop and also very tight post-flop. Jack Hobo doesn't really re-raise me a lot, and on this lockdown board again, I would just bet half the pot. Try to take it down. And again, Jacobo seems to be kinda tight. He was 3 betting us again, or already before, but we can just continue with the bluff and it will just get kinda expensive, and I think I can get better spots against him. Yeah, so he could make it with the flush draw also, but we really didn't have any equity in the hand. We were out of position, so it's just very, very hard to play against him. Crazy alley limps to our big blind as always. We just raised for value here again, and also to take the initiative that we can't bet boards like this. Here the flush already out, no reason to bet bigger. I also don't want to check behind and that he will lead into me and I have to fold. I had the initiative here, so just made a c-bet, and luckily for us he just folded instantly. King 10-6-5. I was thinking about 3-betting, but yeah, as you can see, it's like 2 hold'em hands again playing together. The king 10 suited and the 5-6 suited. The good is it's suited to the king and suited to the 10, but it's a bit loose for me to open and to re-raise and under the gun raise. Pow bitch pow seems to be playing very, very solid up to this time. Would have flopped not straight though, but yeah, a lot of flush draws out, so it's really one of the best flop that we could have hit. Crazy Ali. I don't want to isolate him with this hand. I would love to isolate him in general, but I don't want to isolate him with this hand. It just flops too bad. On table number one, ace four five deuce. Again, it looks very good. It's very connected, but unfortunately, it's not suited to the ace. If it would be ace deuce, 4-5, but suited to the ace, insta, I would re-raise it, or I would raise it under the gun because we have the nut flush and we can make a lot of lower straights. But in this case, I really don't want to enter the pot. It just plays very, very bad. Yeah, and this is just a dilemma. If it comes King Jack 10, we have a flush draw to the 5, we're out of position. We can't really proceed with our hand, but with the nut flush, of course, we could have proceeded. King 10, 5 deuce, single suited to the 5. Although our game plan was to open way more on table number 2, this is still too bad. And as you can see, we already played 34-26. Pow Bitch Pow didn't even try to steal from us because I think I defended now every hand he raised. So he's not even trying. Pow Bitch Pow. So table number 1 is getting a bit more short-handed, but I will continue to play like 10 more minutes before I wrap the video up, so no reason to switch tables, I think, in this case, if I remember good. And Crazy Ali limps again. This is just what he's been doing. I would like to isolate him. It's a bit different from No Limit Hold'em. In No Limit Hold'em, you want to isolate all the time because the continuation bet has just so much power, and you can basically make it with any 2 cards. In Omaha, we really want to be at least a bit selective with our hands. They should have some potential. So we don't like. It's like with 3-betting, we don't want to 3-bet as a bluff. With hands, we always want to have some potential or some type of value for our hands to continue on the flop, turn, or river, because pre-flop is really just 1 street out of 4. So we want to be selective with our hands. So 2 people joined table number 1. That's kind of good for us. We can keep on playing our game for short-handed. We might just have to readapt if they're not fish. Elk though looks like a fish since you just bought in with 15. Queen Jack 10, 3 on the button, a very beautiful hand. The 3 dangles a bit, but it makes us a flush. Would be, of course, the nuts if it would be a 9, but on the button, easy playable, even on the cutoff or from middle position. 7, 5, 6, 3. Alex just posted. I don't know how he plays, so, and we're under the gun, so I just want to give it up. Jack 10, 8, 5. I would recommend folding it. I don't know why I play it now, probably just for the video, but I would recommend to fold Jack 10, 8, 5, single suited. Really no reason to get involved here. And once it comes ace, ace 10, we catch middle pair. In Hold'em, probably would just go all wide here on the ace, ace 10 board, because no one would believe that you have the ace and a 10 would be the nuts. But in Omaha, we have to give the people credit. They have 2 more cards, so there are a lot more possibilities. Now the flush peels off. Again, if it wouldn't be the turn wouldn't bring a flush, I would consider stabbing it just to take it down. But now they will just have even more reason to see a river if they have a flush. And our hand is, it's good enough on table number 2. Table number 1, I decided to defend against the raise from edge. we just have a flush draw now. I decided to defend it because he just has a very, very short stack. And if we flop big, we can easily check raise him. Don't have to plan our hand all along. We can just check raise him on the flop and get it in on the turn latest. On table number 2, I have kind of good kings. We're out of position. I haven't been 3-betting so much, and I think Crazy Ali just plays kind of weak probably, and we instantly hit Jin. And I just want a continuation bet always, just half the pot on paired boards because it's just so hard to continue. So I get flatted here. He could have a 5, but I think he would just stick it in with a 5. Quads you might just call, but I don't think he would re-raise a pair of a hand with a pair of 5s here. So if he has a flush draw, I want him to pay again, because if he has the draw and people with fishy tendencies would pay, but they wouldn't pay me on the river anyway. So if there is a chance that he's drawing, I want him to pay for the draw now because we are at the turn. So I decided to bet 1/3 of the pot to get at least a little bit of value out. But he sniffed the rat, seems like. Crazy Ali limps again. We don't have the best hand, but it's a typical hold'em hand. King, Jack, 4, 6, but it's good enough to isolate and see a flop. Here it's a lockdown board. I think he calls very, very loose. I saw him already leading on the ace king queen or king queen jack board with his mate straight, so I don't think he has a mate straight here, and just want him to pay me off with some flush draws or maybe straight draws. Once the 3 comes, our hand just gets way worse. Higher straights came, ace 4 maybe if he had some ace 4 with the flush draw. I really don't know, but he could still have the flush draws. But I have some equity in the hand, so I just want to realize my equity, try to hit my flush, or maybe hit the 2 pair and be able to check it down. 9 again doesn't change anything. Since I didn't bet the turn, I think I can't bet here the river because I don't represent anything. Maybe just a 7-8, but I myself probably would just check a 7-8 on the river. And yeah, he had the queen 6, one of the few hands that we beat, but I was assuming that he would call me with all types of flush draws. I was hoping he has something like 7 high flush draw, 8 high flush draw, 9 high flush draw in this direction, or Jack high flush draw that he decides to peel once out of position, just plays it very passively. If he picks up a real hand, like if he would have a 7 high flush draw and has some lower cards to go with it, I think he would just lead it out on the turn, since he was playing very, very honest in the session. And we got it in or we didn't get it in, but we value bet actually kind of good. But yeah, that was just kind of lucky and fortunate for us. King 6, 6, 8. Again, the table is still very, very tight. I will play here in position very often against Abul Fadel. He's also a fit fold player, but still good. And on this lockdown board, I was continuation bet and see how he reacts. And he calls me once, which tells me he doesn't have the straight. And once he checks again, he has, I think, a flush draw or some 2 pair. Same situation like before, but there he just let it out. So I think his range now is way weaker. So again, it's an invitation to bet it out. And a very good result since he folds. So here we just basically used our position. Position is key. Once he checks to you twice, you really should just bet and keep the pressure on. And even if he checks the river, if he calls the turn, checks the river, and no board changing cards came, you should just consider betting big again on the river, or at least pick a size where you could be value betting against his hands. Suited ace under the gun. We're just four-handed, very easy raise for us. Illy comes along. Here the nut flush draw and the nut gut shot. Very easy dunk. We have a lot of outs and we know on which turns we can continue very easily. Locked on board on table number 1. I don't really have reads on Illig, but again, locked on boards, we want to keep betting, make them define their hand, just bet half the pot. On table number 2, we folded fairly quickly, but yeah, on the flop, we just flopped such a powerhouse with our king high nut flush draw and the gut shot to the nuts that we should just lead it out, build the pot, and we won't get into trouble most of the time, because even though we're out of position. Table number 2, kinda bad hand, but they've been playing kinda tight and I just wanna keep the pressure on. We play in position now. Same on table number 1, he folded to our continuation bet before, but he could easily have now Jack 10. I'm not very happy, of course, that he calls, and I just decided to give it up here. We don't really have equity in our hand. We have a pure bluffing hand. Once he checks, he tells me he doesn't have the straight, and he was just drawing, or he's kind of weak, just trying to get the showdown, but I won't do him the favor. If he had some type of flush draw, he missed all, and he's a fish anyways, and he just plays fit fold. This is the note that I make on him. And the game plan will be, of course, that we try to play a lot of hands against him and just try to outplay him post-flop. Table number 2, the table is very tight. The hand plays okay, it's not the best hand, like you should know by now, but still the table plays tight. I want to keep the pressure on. Table number 1, we get 3-bet. If you would have a full stack, I would definitely call here, but in game my thoughts were just, I don't have a very good hand. I have an ace in my hand which blocks me, which is kind of bad in 3-bet pots, and I just didn't want it to play a pot out of position against someone who just has $37 or not even 100 big blinds. So at this point, I'm wrapping up the video. I'm already playing the last orbits, but we have an interesting situation here on table number 1. The fish leads into us, and I decide to raise here because he just bets half the pot. I know that we do it also all the time, but the difference is, if a fish really has a hand, he tries to protect it in any way, so he will pot it. So the small donk on the flop just seemed very, very fishy for me, and I just wanted to raise it for information, and I just thought that the raise would be plus EV. And it turned out very good here. We had position, everyone is afraid of the nuts, like you should know by now, and I think the spot was just very, very good, since he just donked so small. If it would be a regular, the half c-bet would be probably very, very standard, and I would proceed with caution. Still decide to raise sometimes since I have position, but the reasons for raising would be different. Son of Q's replaced our fish, unfortunately. We don't have any fish now on table number 2. Pow bitch pow even decided to move there. Mr. Leith to the B. So we have to switch game plan again, but I'm already wrapping it up. Jack 9 3 deuce, just a very, very bad hand. That's the last hand of the day, or of the session. I hope you enjoyed part number 2. As you can see, we focus a lot on pre-flop strategy, a very solid strategy, and just make sure to always draw to the nuts. If you have any questions, leave a comment in the comment section below. I will try to answer all your questions as soon as possible. And yeah, I hope you tune in next time for part number 3 when I will be discussing the most common mistakes. This is Ash for iPoker VIP Coaching, and see you next time, guys. Peace.